week, and I'm with the Honorable Paul. Myself to you in Parliament, what he does, where he represents, before we get into our discussion. Our discussion for today is all about food security in the country. Honorable, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here on this platform, and I want to extend greetings to our viewers wherever they are in Uganda and world over. My name is Paul Amoru Omiat. I represent the people of Dokolo North in the 10th Parliament. I am also the Vice Chairperson for the Committee on ICT and National Guidance. And within my parliamentary grouping for the region, I am the Vice Chairperson of Lango Parliamentary Group. So it's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome to the show. Today we're going to discuss issues concerning food security in the country. The media report indicates the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Christopher, indicating that predicting famine or long drought in the country. So how is the magnitude of food insecurity in the country?
Well, as we speak now, and as leaders, we are very concerned. I'm in touch with people in Dokolo, and many had put beans on the ground. They have put soybean, they have put maize. But beans, for example, nearly 80% is destroyed. And yet the rainfall is still not stable. I know the last 2 days there has been a bit of downpour across the country, but what is for sure now is that even when the rains stabilize now, we don't have enough food to transition us to the next harvest, and this is a real concern to us as leaders. Part of why we are facing this is that there has been destruction of wetlands, which has destroyed the ecological setup. There has also been deforestation and burning of charcoal, and so not much is being done in this regard to ensure that we plant enough trees, we don't encroach on the wetlands that act as catchment areas, and so that's why you've seen the pattern, the rain patterns, and the weather has completely changed. So the effects are very, very grave. But also, we now need to adopt different methods of better farming, better crop handling, harvest, and storage. And we have been now focusing on, we need to deal with the short-term crops, vegetables, in the long run, so that even when we're looking maybe for maize flour, people have greens that can provide a source for eating. But also there has been intervention. We have been providing seeds, maize, beans. Very in my constituency, a section of women were able to receive, and then many more other interventions. But long-term interventions, which we have been talking about in the Parliament. First, we need to definitely mechanize our culture, and also fight against land fragmentation. For settlement, you find a gentleman with 10 sons. He has maybe 10 acres, then he divides all that land into 10, and it becomes too small for production that is sustainable for domestic use, but also for the market. So the idea is, I have 10 acres, I have 10 sons, let us ring fence 3 acres for homestead, and allow 7 to be for productive use, and people can farm on it in terms of shares and all of that, so that the output of what we are doing can support food security, but also can be for the market. And for clearly our farming to focus on both domestic use and for market. But for us, we produce food for eating, but the same food is when someone falls sick is the one they sell to take to the hospital, is the same they sell to take to school, take children to school. At the end of the day, we're left without food.
Yes, Honorable, we have Operation Wealth Creation in place, the NATS. We have different interventions, including WEP or youth livelihood programs, that some of them target agriculture.
Yeah.
So such government programs, do they help in reducing food insecurity in the country?
Sure. Initially, we had challenges. For example, on Operation Wealth Creation, there was a mismatch. What is needed on the ground vis-a-vis what is being supplied. Even the timings for the seasons. You find that seedlings and other seeds were being provided off-season. So they end up drying, or they are later on affected by drought because they have come late. And this we have sought to change. We have confirmation now following a resolution in Parliament that this has been addressed. We have also been talking about getting suppliers outside those regions. So sometimes transportation, it increases on the costs, but also the money economy of that area is not helped. If we need cassava cuttings, and in Lango, for example, we have people who are dealing in cassava cuttings, but then you are going to get cassava from Luero and process, and then the money is taken back to the other end. So this, we sought to have it corrected. Now, when you come to programs like Youth Livelihood Program, there were fundamental challenges. First, there were corrupt district officials who would demand to have a cut of the money they're giving to young people. So you find if the money is 10 million, they are demanding 6 or 4, and then the youth remains with maybe 60% of the money. And because they have seen technical people are eating it, they also decide to eat it. It's not put in productive use, and later on they have to sell land to pay it back, and this brought confusion. Now, to rectify this, we have this appeal was made in Parliament and it went to Cabinet, and I'm happy to say some important decisions have been made by the Cabinet. One, that the money will now be wired straight to the accounts of the youth groups and women groups. It will not go through the district account. So this is going to go a long way in making sure that the youth get this money 100%. The second challenge was that the number of 15, getting 15 people who would focus on one particular activity and commit themselves to it was problematic. So Cabinet has accepted to reduce the number to 5. The third issue was that the earlier requirements, you were supposed to get the 15 members from one village. And you know, that also was limiting. Now it has been opened up. You can be 10 or 5, and you can come from different villages or different parishes within that sub-county. So this also is going to make the work easier. The fourth important decision that has been taken is that previously, on top of the group signatories, the chairperson, the treasurer, and the general secretary, one official from the district would also be a signatory there. And this was another way that there was money was being lost, because the person who is on some of these people who are signatories would pressure the young people. So that's why the impact of this money was not fully being felt. But this has been revised, and we think greatly is going to give the young people and the women much more control over these funds, and for them to be supervised properly and really have activities that can have tangible results.
Yes, Honorable. According to Malabo and Maputo Protocol or Declaration, or the head of states in Africa or under African Union have accepted to put some percentage in the national budget to cater for agriculture. And this would, I think, work on the food insecurity in the country. So what is happening in the case of Uganda?
I agree with you. First of all, agriculture needs long-term financing, and cheap financing. Most of the loan facilities that we have in the commercial banks cannot sustain an agricultural activity because it is short-term and the interest is high. So what we have advocated for, and I think is going to be a major pitching point in this budget of 2019-2020, is for us to capitalize the Uganda Development Bank so that money can be made available for our farmers to access it at a very low interest rate and for long term. So that since we still have a comparative advantage in the area of agriculture, we are able to focus on doing that. So provision of cheap money and long-term money is, in our view, a solution to this problem. You have seen some of the developed countries. They don't even have very many people engaged in agriculture, but those who are engaged in it, they are doing it massively. It is mechanized, and they have access to affordable financing that helps them to produce enough food that can support the country and even for export and for quality. So I think a lot of work is happening in this area, except that there has not been enough money provided by government to support agriculture. So in regard to that, I think Parliament is going to take it seriously. I'm one of those who push when the Committee of Supply is set to appropriate the budget for the financial year 2019-2020. We want to see a tangible leap. I know defense and internal security is taking about 4 trillion. These other groups, but we want to focus more on agriculture. That's the only way we are going to take people out of poverty. That's the only way we are going to fight food insecurity. That's the only way we are going to make sure that people have money in their pockets.
Yeah, in your words, you talked about the relationship between man and environment as the cause of climatic change in the country. And for that, it's affecting agriculture and it results to food insecurity in the country. So what is Parliament doing about that?
Well, you know, we already have adequate laws that relate to gazetted areas that refer to wetlands. We have NEMA that is in place. We have environment and cultural officers. So our problem has been enforcement. So you find recklessness and sometimes impunity, even by state actors, non-state actors, politicians who do not observe the laws that are in place. So I think we just have to tighten, and the leader of government business as the prime minister, we are going to put him to task to make sure that these different agencies that are charged with the responsibility of policing and ensuring that there's enforcement of laws that protect our natural resources, that protect our wetlands, and that is help to ensure responsible land use in Uganda must be implemented. If not, then individuals will have to face penalties for lack of action and negligence of their constitutional duties.
Now, for long, Uganda as a country and their people, they've been described as the food basket for the region. Now, if the basket itself falls short of food, will it affect the region?
Absolutely. This has, as you know, when you look at South Sudan, nearly 70% of their food comes from Uganda and Kenya. If you look at Rwanda, much of their food comes from Uganda, and there's a lot of our maize and maize and sorghum and Irish go to Kenya. So indeed, when Uganda slips back and is unable to produce enough food as we used to, it has implications in the region, and also it can affect security. So food security is not only related to hunger, but it can result to all the other ills that also can destabilize our peace and coexistence. So I think this is a disturbing situation, and year in, year out, we have not managed to act decisively. We have some of the best programs, some of the best plans. The problem has been slow execution, and so I think still the onus comes back to us to ensure that in this budget, that will support agriculture and households.
Yes, Honorable, we can go to our wall and see viewers asking questions from outside. You can read and answer him from Samobik or Kwakol.
Okay, I want to thank my brother Sam Obik Okwakol. He's raising a very legitimate point, and indeed I agree with him that subsistence agriculture has no place in today's world, in the 21st century. And part of our challenge is because still a huge number of our households across the country are just farming for hand to mouth. And so I think, as he says, I've just observed that we are making every effort to recapitalize the Uganda Development Bank and to ensure that our farmers have access to long-term and affordable financing that should help to mechanize our agriculture, to standardize it, and to improve on the handling of our crops, of our harvest and post-harvest handling, so that we are able to supply quality produce in the regional market and on the international market, but also produce enough for our local consumption and indeed for household usage. So I think I agree with him. We must go. There's a bit of, when you go to a number of places in Uganda now, there are commercial farmers coming in, but like I mentioned before, when you need adequate land to be able to engage in viable commercial farming. So if you have less than 10 acres, is highly doubtable that you can meaningfully engage in commercial farming. And then we also need this specialization, so that I can produce what my neighbor doesn't have, and then that's when we supplement on each other. So if I have 1, 2, 3 acres, and then I want to produce about 10 different types of crops, definitely what I am going to produce is insignificant and will not solve the challenge we have. So the issue of financing must happen, and indeed this financial year you're going to see great effort towards recapitalizing the Uganda Development Bank, and with a focus on agriculture.
So how much has been allocated in 2019-2020 budget for agriculture?
Well, I think we are just going this afternoon. It hasn't been presented because the ministerial policy statements are being proposed. I have my iPad here. I don't know if it is already loaded. We'll be able to share. but the ministerial policy statements are being presented by the committees, and after that, yes, I think a committee on agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture is here. But what we have here is not final, because from here it is going to the budget committee, and then from the budget committee there will be realignment there, and we will be able to come to the committee of supply and have a final appropriation. But when you look at the summary of allocations, vote 010, that is Ministry of Agriculture, Animal and Fisheries. For the Direct Development Authority, they have 11,885,479,000. We have on National Agricultural Research Center, we have given them 47,200 million. On Agricultural Research Organization NARO, we have given them 81,400 million. On nuts, and this is where a lot of support goes to our people. We have up to 1 trillion 222 billion 903 million shillings, and so that's a huge amount of money that is going under nuts. And you know, nuts largely is supporting our farmers. Then we have Uganda Cotton Development, which is receiving 9 billion. We have Uganda Coffee Development Authority, which is receiving 100 billion. Then we have agriculture and local government agriculture and commercial services, which is 121 billion. And KCC agriculture grant is about 7 billion. So these are proposals by the Committee on Agriculture, which will now go to the Budget Committee, and from there further discussions will be done before it comes back to the floor of Parliament to help us do the final appropriation and supply.
Thank you. If you can go back up there, I saw some table with the years. That is national.
Yes. Well, this one is on the National Development Plan 2, Phase 2, costing and sector percentage share. So in 2015, we had the costing as per percentage to the budget. It was about 2.6%. 2016, 2017, it grew to 3.6. 2017, 2018, it grew to 3.8%. 2018, 2019, it grew to 4.5%. Now, this particular year, 2019, 2020, it has gone to 5.4%. So you can see there's been an effort. So my brother, Okwakol, was worried that we are only paying lip service. But when you see this in percentages, when you go back to figures, they translate to billions of shillings. And indeed, within a period of 3 years, we have jumped from 2% to now 5.4%. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, yes, Honorable, for that. We have somebody acknowledging.
Yes, my brother Chris Omara, regards to you. Thank you for following us.
Thank you so much. Now, let's for you to conclude. I want you to tackle the issue of cooperative. We have Ministry of Cooperative Society.
Yes.
How does it come in this nature?
Well, first of all, I must admit that one strategic mistake that we made as a country was not to pay much attention to cooperative societies or to allow them to die off. And this is how, first of all, the middlemen came in. And our farmers struggled very hard but all the money, much of the money goes to the middlemen. Now, cooperatives were able to promote large-scale farming. They were able to directly find markets to sell their products to the highest bidder. They are also able to add value because now resources that is generated at cooperative society level is adequate enough for value addition in that supply chain. So indeed, there is now a move to revive cooperative societies in different parts of the country. I am very confident this is going to be a major revolution in supporting our farmers, also giving them a stronger voice to demand and engage government, engage other stakeholders, but also engage with the market, so that there is value for what is being produced, and there can be growth also in the sector.
Thank you so much. But can I request you to answer only 3 questions? Yes. We have a question from Esther Love.
Yes, Esther Love, hello, I greet you. Indeed, as you are indicating, you are asking about the status of Uganda's food insecurity. I think as we speak now, we are not doing very bad, but the projection is that we may not have enough to transit into the new season, harvest season, and part of this is just because of the changes in weather and climate, global warming, which is also catching up with us. And so, like we did last year, definitely the government will have to secure food to rescue in areas that will require our intervention. But now we want to talk about long-term planning. For example, irrigation, which is being given a lot of attention even in this budget. For example, if you look at this one, I'm trying to check from the report I've seen under major achievements, construction of irrigation schemes of Wadele, Tochi, Mobuku, Doho, Ngenge. This one is, I think, in that side of Kapchora is ongoing and will continue to 2019-2020. The level of completion of schemes as at 2018 for Doha, in Butaleja, and so maybe in Kasese, in Oyam district, in Ngenge, in Kwen district. And so we also think another intervention will be in the area of irrigation, which has to be supported, but also to go into large-scale farming. So this will address.
And what is the valley tanks? What are they? What is it? Valley tanks. They are talking about a number of valley tanks.
Yeah, valley tanks or valley dams. They would mean the same. And even in my area, I've seen a number of dams coming up, so that it becomes a catchment area for water, which can later be used for cows and also for farming irrigation. So this is going to provide a solution. There is also Richard Katami Boyo. He said in June 2014, heads of state and government committed themselves to allocate at least 10% of their national budgets to support agriculture, so that by the year 2025, so that there shall be no food insecurity in Africa. What percentage has Uganda reached? Yes, so I think so far we are halfway where he's saying, and I think because we have had some other critical interventions in the area of infrastructure, and especially the roads, because you need to, when you're producing, you need usable roads to deliver those goods to the markets. So lots of money has been going there under UNRWA, but I think most of this is now being concluded, and I am confident that by the year 2025, we shall be at 10% or even more. Because if we're already at 5.4, which could even go up, because this has not yet been discussed, this is proposed. this parliament can push this to 6 or even 7. And so I am optimistic that the remaining 2 financial years ahead of us will easily take us to that point.
And your last point?
Last question. So there is also still my brother Sam Obik. He said, don't you think it will be a big shame for any part of Uganda to suffer from hunger, yet had bumper harvest last year? Where are the silos? We having them constructed this year? Again, this has been an ongoing engagement. We definitely have consensus on the urgent need to construct silos, and so when this budget is presented, we are going to scrutinize it, because the debates, the actual debates, will be before 30th of June, and we will be more than ready to find available resources to have these silos in place. But above all, we need to rescue our people and ensure that we are able to produce enough for our market and also for export.
Thank you, viewers, for watching us. Thank you, Honorable, for being with us in this show. Viewers, if you join us late, today we are discussing issues concerning food security in the country, the magnitude, the weight of food insecurity in the country, and we are trying to see how much has been allocated in the national budget 2019-2020, and also to see the situation of the country being the food basket of the region in Africa. Thank you for watching us. Remember to attend Face the Citizens TV show tomorrow, 2 to 3 p.m. at Wizards Foundation in Tinda. Remember to watch Face the Citizens TV show again on Saturday, mid-Saturday of the month and last Saturday of the month. Remember to listen to our parliamentary radio program every week from the nearest radio stations to you. And remember to watch Ask Your MP every Thursday between